Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you the first in an army showcase series. So I have been asked dozens and dozens of times in comment sections of battle reports and other videos to show off my entire Krieg collection. So that's what I'm going to do here today. I'm going to show you guys my Krieg army. It's something that I'm extremely proud of. I think I've done a pretty good job. Out of all the armies I've done so far to date, this is the one that I definitely have the most attachment to, and the one I think that I did the best job on. So I'm going to show you guys through some of the units and my thoughts on them, how I did them, and any tidbits of information I think might be interesting. So stick around and enjoy the video. Okay guys, so here is the Krieg army in all its glory. As you can see, there's quite a substantial amount of miniatures, characters, vehicles, and other bits and pieces. Here's a collection of miniatures that, like I said in the intro, I am extremely proud of. It took quite a long time to get it collected and get it built and get it painted. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the more individual units in the army. So one of the pieces in this army that I get the most comments on is my basilisk emplacement, or should I say my earthshaker emplacement. It is 3 Krieg artillery pieces. I made a custom trenchwork base for. So they all sit in nice and neat and tidy. You've got the trench rails and stuff there, like boxes of munition. I've even got some little adorable sitting down Krieg there that come off of another piece. I'll talk about that in a minute. My intention is still to make 2 more of these bases. Originally, when I designed this base, it was supposed to be for 1 artillery piece at a time. So it's supposed to sit something like that. And the reason I left so much space on either side is so it wouldn't obstruct too much when we played games. You could obviously just have a squad standing here, so the entire base wouldn't obscure people or anything like that. But I didn't get a chance to build the 2nd and 3rd of these bases, so I started just kind of deploying all 3 of them on the one base together, which means it didn't take up too much real estate on the table, and it looked pretty cool and pretty slick. But my intention is still to build more of them, even though it takes a lot of coffee stirs and a lot of texture paint to get those bases done. But yeah, definitely my 3 Earthshaker carriages are some of my favorite pieces in the army and something that I always wanted to have. Moving on from the Earthshakers, we have my small engineering section. So this comprises of 2 of the drills. So I like the idea that they kind of burst out of the ground and are coming up through the opposite side of the trench line, so where the enemy are. So it's breaking up through those and then bringing the engineers into that gap to help with the breach. I also have a 2nd one. This one is a little bit more extreme because I did a lot of hacking and cutting to have this one literally look like it has exploded out of the ground. Funny story about this is I ordered the bundle off Forge World where I get 1 drill, 2 units of 5 engineers, and a mole launcher. Well, unfortunately, when it arrived, 1 squad of the engineers was missing. So I, of course, contacted Forge World and was like, I'm sorry guys, just to say that there's 5 of these guys are missing from the order. And they apologized profusely and said, we'll send you out replacements, no worries. I expected them to send me out 5 more engineers just to finish off the squad, because they do come as separate things. They could have easily just generated an order with just 5 more guys. They replaced the entire engineering section, so I got another 10 engineers, another mole launcher, and another drill. So having the spare drill that I didn't intend to have gave me the confidence to saw it at that crazy angle and try something new. So yeah, also I added in 2 of the demolition tanks, a very unique miniature in the Krieg army. Obviously it drives forward into the enemy lines and then detonates itself. So they're a lot of fun. I used them in the last battle report that hasn't come out just yet. It'll be out next Sunday if you're watching this video on release. But yeah, those are my engineer section, including the 2 mole launchers. Pretty cool, unique weapons. And the engineers are something that should never be scoffed at on the battlefield. Even just their shotguns themselves are a little bit more powerful than you would expect them to be. Next, we have my Grenadier section. So if I'm being brutally honest with you about my Grenadier section, I got these quite late into the building of the Krieg army, and I could not for love nor money find these units online anywhere, not even eBay, no official ones. So these are the only two units, these guys and these guys, the two Grenadier units, which are actually cheap knockoff copies. Came from somewhere in Russia or whatever, I'm not quite sure where the order generated from. The quality wasn't as high as normal Forge World resin, but I took it as what it was. I do now have 2 squads of the Grenadiers in my army, which I really wanted to have. So if I ever manage to find some actual official ones, I may then jump on and grab them. But for now, I'm happy enough with these 2 squads. We now move across to the full infantry platoon, which makes up the backbone of this army. It is indeed 5 unique 10-man squads of Krieg, including the at ease ones, the advancing ones, 2 regular ones, and then of course the new plastic squad. These are led around into battle by the high command squad. Absolutely stunning miniatures. I know technically this guy should lead multiple platoons around, and then I actually have the platoon command squad as well, which should lead them around, but because I only have a single platoon at the moment, I tend to use these guys to lead that platoon around the table. So of course I had to do the traditional thing, replace one sergeant's weapon with his trusty shovel. Can you really call yourself a Krieg collector if you didn't give at least one of your characters a shovel? On to the armored columns section of the Krieg army. I do indeed have a couple of fighting armored vehicles. I have 1 Sentinel in the collection so far, nicknamed Afonso the Magnificent. If you're one of my Patreons or part of my Mediocre Hobby Community, you'll know why he's called that. But he was a lot of fun. Once again, I made him a custom base like he was stepping through some old trench lines, some old rusty barbed wire and stuff up around a tree, and just made him a little bit more interesting. As big a guard collector as I am, that's actually the first Sentinel that I finished, and it will not be the last one for the Krieg force. I reckon there's at least 5 more going in. We then go in with my pair of Lehman Russes. I'm a big fan of going over the top with the dozer blades. As you can see, I just want to add that splash of color into these forces, make them a little bit more unique. So this is a 383. This is called Old Faithful because it has actually a seriously old Lehman Russ that I found in my forgotten pile that I thought had been thrown out years ago, and I spent a bit of TLC on it to bring it back to fighting glory. I actually have an entire video on that, so you should go and check that out. It was quite a fun one. We have Lucky 211, which is probably the most unlucky Lehman Russ that has ever graced a tabletop. I don't think it's hit a single shot or done any real damage in any games yet, but it's a cool tank. We then move across to my pair of Chimera. Once again, we're a little over the top with their dozer blades. These ones are actually kind of interesting because I used the new plastics to custom build the tank riders out of the top of those. It's a little bit more interesting. Whereas all the other tanks, I use the official Forge World Krieg tank commander. But he's quite limited in his posing, so I want to have more and more fighting vehicles in the army. So I reckon I'm going to use this style a lot more to have guys standing out of the top of those. We then move across to quite a unique tank. This is a Griffin mortar tank. These were a standard occurrence in Imperial Guard armies back in the early 90s. This kit is actually a plastic Chimera chassis, and then the gun and platform part of that are actually metal. It is a discontinued kit. It hasn't been sold in a very, very long time. And a good friend of mine had one donated to his store, along with a bunch of miniatures, a bunch of Catachans, I believe. And he knew how much I loved Guard and that I didn't have one of these in my collection at the time. So he very, very kindly donated me this. I had a spare heavy weapon team crew, so I obviously populated the top canopy with some Kriegsmen, which made it be a particularly interesting tank. For any of you wondering, I like to think that it was on campaign and fought alongside some Iron Hands. It did some pretty decent work next to them, and they gave him the honor of carrying their chapter badge on the hull of the tank. Kind of respect to revered old tank. We then have the mini boy, the artillery tractor used to tow some of the other artillery pieces around in battle. This is actually where I got those 2 sitting Kriegsmen that were on the artillery base earlier. There's 3 guys in here, but there's supposed to be 2 guys sitting on those chairs at the back. I could not, for love nor money, figure out how they fit in at all. And I thought it looked a little bit cluttered if I tried to force them in, so I used them on that instead, leaving the tractor like this. So you can build one of these kind of heavy artillery pieces with the tow hitch connected and towing it around. I may at some stage buy another one of those heavy artillery pieces just to make one of these being towed, and then I might give the whole thing a little base. But that's a future Andy's problem. We then move over to Big Bertha, my army Gorgon. I've always wanted a Gorgon in my Imperial Guard collection, finally having one. She's an absolute beast of a tank. This isn't that old, this particular tank. I think I did last Christmas, and the Christmas before that actually. But obviously this kit has been in circulation for many, many, many years. So if I'm being brutally honest, the mold is very tired. There was a lot of gaps to fill, nothing quite fit right. It was kind of a disaster. In my head, I wanted 2 or 3 of these things, but I am reluctant to purchase another one to go through that entire process again. It was not as enjoyable as you would think. But once again, not to be left out, it does have its crazy interesting hull. I used some of the night transfers just to add some interesting stuff to it. I know it can have a pair of sponsons. I went for the heavy mortars, so I didn't ruin the silhouette of the tank. I don't really like the big chunky sponsons coming out the side of tanks. Just to quickly jump back to the old Leman Russ, I much prefer the look of the Leman Russes with like this, the flat sides. I think it looks more sleek and tank-like. That just looks a little bit too boxy and fat for me, and I'm not a big fan of it. So that carried across to my Gorgon, and I didn't give it sponsons. We then move over to the next layer of artillery. So like I said, Krieg are a very unique army. They have many unique units, as goes the Astra Militarum, and one of these is the kind of different levels of weapon teams. So as you can see, these guys can go from the heavy basilisks, and then like normal Imperial Guard, they have heavy weapon teams, but they have a medium-sized artillery piece, which is quite a nice thing. They make for really nice kits to build and paint. I've based all mine on nice big bases, and so I'm able to build a nice scene around it, make use of all the extra gubbins you tend to get in the kit, but you have nowhere to put them. So my kit so far, I have a trio of the heavy mortars, and I have 2 quad launchers. I'm currently missing my 3rd quad launcher, but I will grab that at some stage. As you can see, I've added the trench line to all of them, so when they're deployed together, it does look like they're kind of a cohesive line of artillery pieces, which is quite nice. Next, we move over to the heavy weapon teams themselves. As goes having heavy weapon teams, I really don't have enough heavy weapon teams to constitute kind of a collection. Like for instance, I don't have any solid heavy weapons. I've got 2 heavy bolters, I've got 2 twin-linked heavy stubbers, I've got a las cannon, and I've got a mortar. So they're kind of all over the place. Part of me really needs to get the thumb out, buy another heavy bolter, another quad autocannon, or sorry, twin-linked heavy stubber, so I could have 2 full heavy weapon teams, so I get to deploy them and use them in a game. But I haven't managed to do that just yet. But that's something that is on the cards. Next, we move over to another one of the kind of rarer kits. This is the Quartermaster squad. So in Krieg armies, there's a guys called Quartermasters, and their purpose is to go around the battlefield and collect equipment off the dead. So if you notice, there's guys like this, going around carrying the uniform and helmets of dead Kriegsmen. But these guys are super pragmatic. So this poor guardsman here who has been shot full of holes, you can see he's holding his chest in, is pleading for the Emperor's mercy. And as you can see, the Quartermaster about to draw his pistol, finish this guy off, so the other 3 vultures can kind of pull all the equipment and the uniform off to be used on another guy later on. Super grim, but that's what the Krieg are all about. We then move over to my other characters in the army. I painted up a Severina Rain to be part of the Krieg army. She's just such a cool character, and I think she suits it really well. I have painted up a new Imperial Guard Psyker, once again giving it the trench base and matching in with the same color uniform, which was super cool. And then the other ones, I've got the collector's version of the Quartermaster. He's another super rare one. He was a Forge World kind of Games Day model style thing. and not easy to get your hands on. Sorry, my camera will not focus on this guy for love nor money. There you go. Once in, have him over shooting over an old wrecked trench fence work. So nice piece. My favorite of the commissars, which of course the camera will once again not like to focus on that guy. Drawing his power saber, ready to fight and die for the Emperor. Super cool miniature. I was going to say he's my favorite commissar, but that would be a lie, as I do also have the rare mounted commissar, and he is a super nice piece. So I have him as the mounted commissar, so I'm knocking over the banner. And then I have a marshal on horse. So these are two characters. I put them on slightly larger bases to the normal horses so you can make them stand out. These also get a black horse for the marshal commander and a white horse for the commissar commander. And then a full squad of 10 Death Riders. This is by far my favorite unit in the Krieg army. It is a channel favorite. Everybody loves them. Every time I play them in battle reports, I get a million comments talking about them. I do at some stage have plans to add an additional 20 Krieg horses to this collection, bringing the total up to 30 and 2 characters, so 32 horses in the army. The only thing holding back is that's going to cost me about €400 for those 20 horses. So it's not going to be a cheap bump to the army, but I will get around to it at some stage. So I think that brings to an end my current collection of Krieg. This will by no means be the end of this army. I already have 7 boxes of the new Kill Team veterans sitting on a shelf. So that's 70 more Krieg infantry. My intention is for 50 of them to become the next platoon, and the other 2 boxes of 10 to be used for tank commanders. So I'll have 20 entire infantrymen spare to put like sticking out as sentinels and in other tanks and other bits and pieces like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed my Krieg showcase. Put that next to my nice scenery, which I played a couple battle reports on with them. Things that I would love to know is, what are your favorite units out of my Krieg army? I would love to know what your Krieg armies look like. So if you tag me in those, I would love to see what you guys have done with yours. For a final count, there's 187 infantrymen on this table that I have painted up for Krieg. That goes for like the 2 guys here, the guys out at the bottom of the tank. This like 187 infantry models have been painted for this army. Thank you guys so much for watching this very different video. I do hope you enjoyed the army showcase. I have a couple of other really cool armies that I would love to show you guys. So let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this style of video, if this has answered all of your questions about my Krieg army. If it is, and if you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see all future videos. And if you have any questions about anything you see on this table or anything else to do with me or my channel, make sure you drop them in the comments below and I'll get back to each and every one of you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.